Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. Well, there's an analyst out there, very well-known analyst with 300,000 followers on Twitter, who's saying that XRP could fall another 20%, and he's blaming Ripple for that, stating that them selling their stash XRP is quite the problem. So I'm going to be sharing that story with you, and I also pulled up a thread from Ripple employee Bob Way, former Ripple employee. He was with one of Ripple's, actually he was Ripple's 10th employee ever. And he was with them up until, I think, May of last year. I could be mistaken, but I think it was May of last year. And he shared his thoughts on Ripple selling their XRP and what it means in this thread that I'm going to share with you. And then I've got a piece, that's the last thing I'll cover in this particular video. It's about Bitcoin probably going to continue the trend of upward dominance in terms of price action overall, just despite what's happened over the last 24, 48 hours in particular. So before we get going here, if you would please delicately tap that like button, and if you are a fan of Ripple and XRP, then go ahead and subscribe. You'll have a good time here sometimes, yeah. All right, so here's live coin watch just to start. Market cap $264 billion, so it's still a bit down. You got Bitcoin a little over 10,000, and as I'm recording this, XRP at 26.7 cents. So that was just for reference. So take a look at this piece now. This is from Cointelegraph. It's titled "XRP Could Fall 20%," says trader accusing Ripple of manipulating market. And it's a bunch of hogwash. Let me share this with you, and I'll be happy to share my thoughts on the topic. Altcoin XRP has received fresh claims its price is artificially high as a well-known cryptocurrency trader warns of serious losses. Bum, bum, bum. That sounds scary, doesn't it? Gosh darn. All right, here's the guy. His name's Peter Brandt. I've talked about him on the channel before. He seems to just be an anti-XRP, anti-Ripple type of guy, so keep that in mind. And the piece writes, in a series of tweets August 14th, Peter Brandt accused the issuer and largest holder of XRP tokens, Ripple, of price manipulation. Got to stop right there. Ripple is absolutely not an issuer. Ripple did not create XRP. XRP was gifted to them. It's already in distribution. It's already out there. All right, continuing. XRP had dropped to its lowest level against Bitcoin in over 2 years, while XRP/USD circled 11-month lows. For Brandt, however, even current levels of 26 cents are the result of manual intervention on the part of Ripple and not natural market forces. Should the practice ultimately fail, the token could shed another 20%. Will Ripple be able to manipulate the market to keep XRP above 24 cents? A serious breakdown at this level, and 20 cents is in the cards, he wrote in comments accompanying XRP/USD price chart. When challenged about his use of language, Brandt defended himself, referencing recent sell-offs by Ripple executives as proof markets are being strategically managed. Separate data had shown Ripple sold more XRP in 2019 than any other time in history. You know, that does have something to do with interest in the coin itself, does it not? They're selling to institutions and financial institutions and all that. You can't force people to buy something they don't want. Oh, Lord. All right. And then here's a quote. I use manipulate because it's exactly what Ripple has been doing since it introduced XRP. He continued in a further tweet he wrote. And again, they did not introduce XRP. That's just, he doesn't even have freaking facts straight. Anyway, he wrote, the chart pattern for many, many months has shown the distribution of XRP by Ripple. It has manipulated the price to hold support. But if support gives way, Ripple will be forced to dump in a major way. Oh, Lord. And then the piece ends here. Watershed U.S. moment looms. Ripple was already at the center of attention this week amid signs United States regulators could soon become involved in a lawsuit relating to XRP's status as a security. While the United Kingdom formally recognized XRP as a utility token, the United States lawsuit drew on fresh indications from the Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC, that the cryptocurrency is indeed a security by local standards. And I covered that story recently, so not really going to touch on that. But look, so consider this. Ripple's trade volume accounts for roughly 0.32% of all XRP volume. That's it. That's not enough to suppress price. There's just not enough going on there. And if Ripple were able to suppress price with what they're selling, How is it that XRP in a 12-month period from January of 2017 to January the following year, so a little over 12 months, January of 2018, how did it go from half a penny to $3.92, which is listed as the all-time high according to Live CoinWatch? How did it do that with Ripple selling all of this XRP? And you could make the point that Ripple sold more of their XRP in 2019 than 2017, but look at the numbers. I didn't pull them up for the sake of this video, but it's like it's that much more. It's not enough to change to change the market rate in any meaningful way. Then and then consider this year. Okay, so again, this year, the second quarter of this year, XRP went from 29 cents to over 50 cents. Okay, from 29 cents to over 50 cents. Did Ripple do that? Is Ripple selling their XRP? Is that the reason that it went up by almost 100% in price? Second quarter of this year, while they were selling all that XRP? Huh? That doesn't make any damn sense, does it? And then you have to consider the XRP that is being sold by Ripple. It's not that all of it is just magically going on exchanges. So despite whatever the trade volume is, it doesn't mean that that's all going on exchanges anyway. This is a completely bogus argument from somebody that's painting a false narrative of Ripple and XRP. Complete bunk. And here's the tweet here. So this is one of the tweets that was covered in the article. And if you want to see graphically what he was citing, here it is. I just pulled it up for the sake of it. But no, Ripple, seriously. This is why, I'm just going to share Bob Way's thoughts on this. Because he was with Ripple from pretty much the very beginning until a little over a year ago when he peacefully parted ways and is still friends with everybody over there at Ripple. So let me share this. There was a tweet that Bob Way put out, and it looks like he had since deleted it. If you see towards the top of the screen, it says this tweet is unavailable. He deleted it this morning, apparently. And I don't know why, but it was just some tweet saying, hey, it was good seeing people in Las Vegas or something to that effect, so I guess he had taken a trip there. And so then that tweet was retweeted by, it was like that when I got here. That's a name on Twitter. That's the name of somebody on Twitter. So retweeted Bob Way's tweet. And this guy wrote, "This guy has provided as much value to the XRP community as the trolls. There is nothing insightful about anything he has to say, which means he's either useless or he's stuck in non-disclosure agreements." No, that's complete nonsense. I have to tell you, I should link to these at some point. There were he did live streams with Alex Cobb and also Brad Kimes. He spent a lot of time with those two XRP YouTubers, and oh my god, it was insightful. The amount of information that I learned was just unbelievable, because he's somebody that was actively in the know at that point in time, and he understood what Ripple was doing, all the behind-the-scenes stuff, and the sentiment, and what the big overarching plan is for Ripple, and how they view the asset class as a whole, and the blockchain industry. Super insightful. And he spent hours, he gave up his time, spent hours of time just speaking about this, and it was really cool. So anyway, that was a pretty jerk tweet that this guy wrote, and so Bob Way responded with, "Nice to meet you too. If you are expecting me to give you a date when things are going to moon, well, don't expect that. Crypto is a crazy, irrational world, but I'll talk about why I think it will go to the moon. Those reasons will be different from what most have heard." Well, you know what? Okay, so I don't blame Bob for not wanting to tell you when it's going to moon. I will tell you when XRP will moon. It's Friday, 2 p.m. That's what it's happening. That's a joke, by the way. XRP News wrote, "Well, you did say you expect XRP to surpass all-time high in 2019. And then Bob wrote, "I really want it to. I can rationalize reasons why I think it should. But price spikes like these are always caused by new buyers rushing into the ecosystem. Their reasons are driven by personal perception and future expectation. Perception change happens, but not on my schedule." And then XRP News wrote, "Any thoughts on why the price of XRP hasn't been following the general trend of digital assets in 2019? Could it be attributed to the sell pressure from Ripple?" And then, and this was, mind you, two days ago, so we didn't, this is before the massive sell-off yesterday. Not that it really matters, but just thought I'd mention it. Bob Way wrote, "Nice graphic," and it's just kind of showing I think it's just the top 10, is that what it was? Yeah, okay, top 6 in this one, whatever. Top 6 coins there, and it's got the price and year-to-date change. But that's why I'll just say this before I read Bob's response. You're artificial or arbitrarily choosing a timeline, and you can manipulate. If you could pick any time window and make it, or not any, but you could pick all sorts of different time windows and make it look like XRP just consistently outperforms Bitcoin. Like you can do that. You just pick a time frame. If you're arbitrarily picking it, it has no meaning. And so given the lag time that XRP has in terms of price action relative to Bitcoin, I think it means absolutely nothing. I really don't care. But anyway, that's my take. Here's what Bob Way wrote about this. He wrote, nice graphic. Obviously, Ripple selling XRP does exert some downward pressure on price. But I don't think that's the reason XRP doesn't follow the general trends. I think the buyer communities are different between XRP and other coins. Most here have seen that anti-XRP sentiment. And I want to acknowledge, and I've said this before, it's not out of line with what I've been preaching on this channel. Anytime anyone, I don't care if it's an individual or company, sells any amount of XRP, by definition, you are exerting downward price pressure. You are being a bear in that particular instance, okay? Of course it affects it. My case, though, is what I'm stating here is that Ripple doesn't have the power to, or isn't selling enough XRP to suppress the price in a meaningful way. Okay, they're not. Anyway, and then Bob Way continued here. Ripple selling XRP always makes for an interesting discussion. There are many overlapping pros and cons. Obviously, the company holding the majority of XRP is a pushback point for many. Given it would depress the price dramatically, selling it accentuates the upward moves. Burning XRP en masse doesn't seem the right thing to me either. In reality, a lot of Ripplers work hard every day building utility value in the XRP ecosystem. If the company were to quit doing so, personally, I think perception of XRP transforming finance would evaporate. So personally, I want Ripple to keep executing on their plan. I also want all the Ripplers to get paid so they can continue to do so. I think the best way to finance that and also reduce the perception of XRP centralization is to sell just enough XRP to meet the company needs. And that part absolutely makes sense. Understand, that's what Ripple has been seeking to do this whole time, and it's okay to recognize when adjustments need to be made, and Ripple has said that they're going to adjust downwards. It doesn't mean, it's not some sort of acknowledgement that because Ripple is going to move forward selling less XRP than it has been, that's not an indication that they did some horrible thing or that they've suppressed price in some meaningful way. It's just like, hey, we need to calibrate this. Let's change this a little bit. Let's sell a little bit less because they want to sell without affecting the market in any meaningful way. That's just what they're doing here. And so that's, again, what former Ripple employee Bob Way has to say on it, and I think it's perfectly reasonable. All right, now check out this piece from dailyhodl.com, and this is the same freaking guy. And it's titled, Trader Who Called Bitcoin's Last Crash Says Bitcoin's Bull Trend Intact. And it's Peter Brandt again, with his over 300,000 followers. Crypto analyst Peter Brandt, who is well known in the industry for calling Bitcoin's big plunge in January of 2018, tells his 299,000 followers, he actually is over 300 now, but anyway, on Twitter that at this point Bitcoin is still performing in line with its bull run from 2015 to 2017. According to his analysis of Bitcoin's moving average, the leading cryptocurrency would have to dip below $8,997 to reverse the overall trend and confirm a bearish reversal. There you go. And so then that's basically what's said in this tweet, so I probably don't really need to read that. Brandt says Bitcoin is in its fourth parabolic phase dating back to 2010, taking aim at a $100,000 target. And here's a quote. No other market in my 45 years of trading has gone parabolic on a log chart in this manner. Bitcoin is a market like no other. So I want to point, while he seems rather bullish on Bitcoin, he's talking about XRP dropping potentially another 20%. And so, and he only calls this type of stuff out for XRP. You know, he's not talking about other top coins and where they're necessarily heading. And he likes to have negative calls on XRP from what I've seen. Okay. So it's really, at this point, impossible to deny that XRP follows the price action of Bitcoin. It really does, just like every other coin. It is the least correlated of the top 10 cryptocurrencies, but it's still correlated. If you zoom out on a chart, it becomes very clear that it's still correlated. Nothing has changed. So if you, Mr. Brandt, believe that Bitcoin is going to be going up over time, then you better believe that XRP is too, because the market isn't parsing out the differences between the coins in a meaningful way. Only some people are, like I am, and to you listening to this channel, if you're a big fan of Ripple and XRP, as am I, and I'm guessing you are because this is an XRP-centric channel, you probably feel the same way, right? Like you probably did parse out, and that's probably why you're so excited about XRP, just like I am, because you see that this one's actually different. There are thousands of coins out there. This is the only one that's being used in the commercial production of anything. So there's something to it. It is special. But most people aren't parsing out the differences to that degree, the degree to which you and I are. Now, I believe the more time passes, the more smart minds are going to figure this out, and we're going to be lucky that we were in early, super duper. But the world will figure this out, and XRP as a result, not financial advice, but I think it's going to end up in a ton of investment portfolios the world over, from institutional investors on down to retail speculators doing their own thing. That's what I think. Everybody's going to want some exposure to this asset class. At some point, maybe it'll take a while to get there. That's fine, and you got to figure out infrastructure problems, custodial issues, all that good stuff. But it's coming, and so I'm just saying, right now, since everything's tethered together in terms of price action, if Bitcoin's going up, eventually XRP does too. It just will. And I've talked a bit about alt seasons, and we're apparently about due for one now, from what chart analysts keep telling me in terms of timing. Not that anybody can say it's going to happen this day, this week, this month, whatever. But we're at a point where Bitcoin dominance is so high that if you look over the last 5 years, every time it's gotten this high, that's been like a tipping point to where altcoins pick up steam. Historically, that is what has happened, and I will not be surprised if that's what happens again. But we shall see. We'll keep watching. But let me scroll down here a little bit further now. In an interview with CNBC's Rand Neuner, Brandt said he shifted from bearish to bullish on Bitcoin's long-term trajectory in early May, when the leading crypto surged from around 4,200 to 6,200 in just over a month. And here's a quote. You have to look really at the long-term chart that goes back to 2011, 2012, and what you'll see there is a magnificent thing that happened going into the 2013 high. And that was a parabolic move. And it was a parabolic move on a log scale. A parabolic move on a log scale is a magnificent thing. It may only happen once in a decade, and so we saw that parabolic advance to be broken, and then we saw the market from 2013 into 2015 enter into a correction. And then it entered in another parabolic move. So we have two parabolic moves in the same market. That's just unheard of. And of course that topped in December 2017, and we spent 2018 correcting. Right? The moving average that I look at, which is a weekly chart moving average, turned up here in early April. The last time that moving average turned up was in early 2015, when Bitcoin went from $350 to $19,900, depending on what exchange you're trading. That is a quantum move, and so we have the same situation as we have seen an upturn in the long-term trend. So there you go. So let me ask you, if Bitcoin indeed is on an upward trajectory overall, despite the price action we saw yesterday, and whatever the hell's going on today, do you believe that it's going to actually leave XRP behind for the first time ever? This is it. Despite all of this adoption, this and that, more and more people understanding the actual utility of XRP, is it actually going to be left behind, and then it's just Bitcoin goes up and maybe some other altcoins? I just don't buy that. I think that there's real utility. The XRP is never going to be abandoned so long as it's actually being used in the real world and adoption is continuing. That's what I believe anyway. But, that's it for this video. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!